Give us one moment, everybody. We're officially live. Alrighty. We are all good. Alright, I want to start off the same way I always do. I want to thank our sponsors today for sponsoring the video. Epic Games, our creator code 66 Seals Podcast. Go use it for 10% off your purchase. And everyone go like Hell's Dungeon. It's a fantastic place. Good group of people. Alright, so I did a podcast a little earlier, and in that segment we had talked basically about the Illuminati, right? And what it is, and we kind of revisited it a little bit, and there was a couple really just, what's the word I'm looking for here? Really kind of out there stuff that I said. So I wanna kind of go back a little bit here. First of all, I want to pull up this quote. I want to pull up the quote right here. Right here. So we had talked about Madonna. I'm gonna go ahead and kind of go back a little bit because Eli wasn't here. Go ahead and say hi, my man.
What up, what up? What's going on, guys?
So, alright, Madonna, here it is. First of all, this is a quote out of I forget who, but this is the whole paragraph, so I'm gonna read it off. Said, Madonna, on the other hand, might just be a believer. All the more interesting, given that she frequently has been accused of being a member herself. Speaking to Rolling Stone, she hinted that she had secret knowledge of the group. The claim is not so shocking given that she released a title called Illuminati. She said, people often accuse me of being a member of the Illuminati, but the truth is, I know who the real Illuminati are. So I'm going to go ahead and set that there. We're just going to open right up with it. What do you think, man?
Of Madonna being in there, or Madonna knowing? I mean, I think if anybody would know, it would be Madonna. She's pretty high up in the ranks as far as celebrities go, and she's been there for quite some time. So if you believe in the Illuminati and the celebrities are involved, yeah, absolutely. I think she'd know. Or maybe she's just being sarcastic. Who knows? I do think the Illuminati is a definite real thing, and I think they have way more control in today's world than people think. But I sometimes think that like all the celebrities being a part of it is more of just a distraction. To like, I think like your people that actually run the Illuminati are probably you'll never know their names or faces. The It's interesting if you look back at like the start of the Illuminati, how like when it was founded around the same time as Freemasons, and like for instance George Washington, he was a member of the Freemasons. He was worried the Illuminati would take over the Freemasons because so many Freemasons members
Yeah,
were
we
joining.
had talked about George Washington a little bit earlier. We had actually let off on a little fact I looked up today, which I didn't know this until it was brought to my attention. Mount Rushmore. You know what that is, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mount Rushmore. Let me see here. All right, yep, right there. So Mount Rushmore, it has an 18-foot door on the back of Lincoln's head. It has an 18-foot door, and it leads to a room that's 74 foot long and 35 foot high.
Jeez.
What do you think about that?
I had no idea. That's wild. Why? Why do people think it's there?
It's not think. It's 100% confirmed. They
I mean,
said
what reason do people think it's there for? Is what I meant.
You know what? I think what's more fishy than anything is how big the door is. Why do they need that big of a door? And why do they need a 35-foot ceiling?
I have no idea. That's wild.
Right, 35-foot ceiling, 74-foot long. I don't know, man. I think I don't know. It's pretty strange. Pretty wild. So that's a little bit of what we had talked about. So now I'm gonna go ahead and go straight to our topic for today, right? Which is aliens. All right, so I have a couple of different things here. First of all, I want to bring up one guy in particular, and I'm going to be talking about him the majority of this stream, and here's kind of why. His name, first of all, is Bob Lazar. Now, Robert Scott Lazar is his actual name, 100% from start to finish. Now, Robert Lazar, he's an American conspiracy theorist who to have been hired in the late 1980s to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology at what he described as a secret site called S4, which I watched a video of him. He said is about 15 miles from Area 51. Go ahead and mute yourself. I'm getting a lot of feedback. Okay. All right. So S4 is where he, was said to have worked. Now, what's interesting about Bob Lazar, or whatever you want to call him, what's interesting about the guy is everything he said has been proven true. Like, scientifically speaking, everything that he said 100% has turned out to be the real deal. Everything. Now, there's a couple things in here. First of all, I got all of his claims, his work history, and his criminal charges, and we're gonna go over them together and kind of see just how credible he is. But first of all right, Lazar claims he examined an alien craft that ran an antimatter reactor powered by element 115. Whatever 115 is, that's it. Now, which at the time had not been synthesized, so he claims to have read U.S. government briefing documents that described alien involvement in human affairs over the past 10,000 years. Now, Lazar claims resulted in bringing the added public attention to Area 51, fueling the conspiracy theories surrounding its classified events. It goes on to say that Lazar's story has been since analyzed and rejected by skeptics, and there's some universities from which he claimed to have held degrees who show no record of them and supposed work experiences. They had disavowed him, and in 1990 he was convicted of crimes that I'm going to go into a little bit later. However, his story is he he worked on an S4, which is a section of Area 51, and he'd worked on these alien spaceships, right? And he said there was 8 of them total, and they were manned by actual aliens. Foe was an archaeological, actually able to. Now he goes on to say, oh no, hold on one here. There we go. Now he goes on to say that um, he worked in this area and was able to see and do all of these really badass. Those badass was working on just just the technology. And the technology we talked about was 0-point gravity. Hold on, I'm getting feedback. There we go. 0-point gravity, which would be the ability to fly a craft or an aircraft of any kind without using rocket jets. Right. That's the idea here, right? 115 element 115, and he had claimed to have worked on. Why are we getting so much feedback? Was on all of these aircrafts. And we know that these aircrafts existed at one point, or the plans existed, right, around the time that he said, because the plans were found by the Germans. We are not found, invented, right, by the Germans. They have the actual sketches, and we talked about that in the Aliens podcast not too long ago. That was an interesting one. We had talked about the Alien podcast and just what that means in terms of did we have the technology, did we have the sketches, could we do it, etc. Oh, I want to take a second and say thank you for the 85 people listening. You guys are fantastic. But let me go back to what I was saying here. Now, what's really kind of interesting about Bob Lazar's story is he had flat out said all these different things about Area 51, and he had flat out made all of these accusations against these people. And his other claim was that he went to these schools, universities, and all these and work history, and he claims that after he had outed these people at Area 51, and after he outed the space programs and stuff like that, they had tried to discredit him by just erasing everything. And even his best friends and his mother went on record too as to saying his birth certificate never existed. She said that was the most terrifying thing about the whole thing, was seeing her son literally disappeared, not in actual he's gone, but on paper he never existed. Which first I want to stop there. What do you think about all that, man? I know that was a lot to take in, but what do you think about it?
No, I think Bob Lazar's story is fascinating. I think, unfortunately, he was before his time. Like when he first came out with all the stuff, people thought it was crazy. It was before alien theory was even a thing. What kind of changed public opinion on Bob Lazar, and what changed, kind of gave him some credibility, was when New York Times in 2017 came out with an article about basically revealing the existence, and this is New York Times, revealing the existence of the U.S. government having created 10 years earlier a advanced aerospace threat identification program. And since then, the Navy has publicly verified 3 separate videos that show unidentified aircraft breaking the laws as we know them of aerodynamics. So it's interesting, and that's the Navy, the U.S. Navy, and New York Times. So people know UFOs are a thing now, and I'd say that probably 70 to 80% of people believe UFOs. So that was his big thing, was UFOs, Bob Lazar's, and the what's it called, matter 155 or whatever it was that we're talking about. Um,
The element 115.
Element 115, yeah. So it's just interesting because like when Bob Lazar first like started talking about it, like nobody, people thought he was nuts because like at the time, nobody had ever really, yeah, there'd been like fringe theories about it, but like nothing mainstream. And then years later, like I said in 2017, when New York Times and the U.S. Navy both verified that UFOs existed, it's now I think he almost deserves this, everybody to take a second look at him. Maybe he wasn't so crazy. Um, the other thing you gotta notice about him, unlike a lot of the people that are frauds out there, like some of those conspiracy theorists and stuff that aren't necessarily, you can tell there's a few signs always that show you whether people are fake or not, and that's people that like Bob Lazar never tried to profit off of it. He never one time went on a lucrative speaking circuit around the country. He never tried to sell T-shirts. You know what I mean? Like this guy wasn't trying to get rich. He didn't do anything to make money off of his theories. He was literally just trying to be a whistleblower and say, look, this is what's going on that they're keeping from you. You know, he wrote a book that's about it, and he didn't make a bunch of money off that. So he wasn't in it for the money. You know, I think it was just unfortunate that when he came out with all the stuff that he claimed to be whistleblowing on, as far as UFOs, aliens, uh, Matter 115, um, it was bad timing. It was unfortunate that like he was super early, so just nobody believed him. And I think now he definitely deserves a second look at everything because they've never once have they disproved like factually they haven't proved everything, but they haven't disproved anything he said, which is interesting. Um, so yeah, really interesting stuff. If you look at, kind of take a second look for the people out there that think he's just a crazy dude. Like if you Google him, like the first 3 pages of stuff will just be about like talking about how he was a quack and blah blah blah, how he didn't have, you know, how he didn't go to the colleges he did that he's claimed to, but no birth certificate. Um, but it's interesting. It's wild that they just frame him as like a fraud and a liar just because he was thought of that when the time he when he came out with the stuff, he was thought of as a fraud and a liar, but they never changed it after New York Times and the U.S. Navy and people confirmed that a lot of the stuff he was saying was real and true. They never kind of cleared his name. It's kind of sad to me. He's still thought of as like just a major fraud and a liar.
Yeah, so, and you make a couple really good points here, and I think there's a lot that he said. Now, if let's assume everything that he said is true, the kind of technology that he would have been working on would have been far more. I mean, it would have been far, far past any like public, I guess, piece of technology out there. And that's really kind of like the thing here. But let me go back and let me kind of really talk about some of his claims here. Now, I don't know if this is kind of, if this is kind of true or not true, but I have a whole list. Let me go ahead and pull it up right there. And this is just like a brief kind of cheat sheet, I guess you could say. And this is bullet points, right? So, the schools in which Lazar claimed to have studied in say they've never heard of him. Lazar alleges that he has worked at Los Alamos, where he experimented with the world's largest particle beam accelerators, whatever that means. George Knapp said Los Alamos officials say they have no record of him ever working there. And then George Knapp says they were either mistaken or were lying. A 1982 phone book from the lab lists Lazar right there among the scientists and technicians. News section shows the cover of Los Alamos National Laboratory phone directory, and then a list of names which includes Lazar Robert. Los Alamos Monitor article of 1982 shown the date. Let me scroll down here. The date reading Sunday, June. Yeah, Sunday, June 2nd. So in 1982, with the title of "L.A. Man Joins the Jet Set" at 200 miles per hour, with a picture of a man with a car with Knapp saying that it's what is it, profiles Lazar and interest in, as his interest in jet cars, right? So that's one of the things that got him on the map, was that he had put a jet engine in a car and drove it to work, and that is how he got recruited to even work on Area 51. That's what he claims. But it goes on. It says right here. Let me see. George Knapp said, "We called Los Alamos again, and an exasperated official told us he still had no records of Lazar, E, G, and G, which is where Lazar says that he interviewed for the job at S4, also has no records of him as well." The news section cuts to Lazar, who claims he called the schools he attended, the hospital he was born in, and his past job records to get, but to no avail. Basically, nothing surfaced. Right? Lazar alleges his employer at S4 was the U.S. Navy. In addition to the small topmost level, which he speculated that may have housed a kind of navigational computer, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term. This, he said, functioned as a guide for the gravity wave, in which a heart-shaped, aircraft, I guess, is narrowing at the bottom. So there is that. First of all, so there's a couple bullet points that we can kind of sift through a little bit. I want to kind of talk about one particular aspect of that before we kind of veer off. We're definitely going to come back to Lazar, but I just want to kind of lead off with, accusations and things among that nature. I think what's really kind of interesting about this whole situation, I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that they would cover their tracks, especially with how secret it is. It just, you have to ask yourself, like, first of all, how advanced is this alien technology? And, let's say the aircraft goes fast and whatever. Let's say it can actually fly. That's just an aircraft. What about it is special? Does it have some particular weapon on it? Is it weaponized? I know there's plenty of jets out there with tremendous, I mean tremendous, feats that it can do. The stealth bomber, you can't detect it on a radar. You can't. 100% can't detect it on a radar. So there's got to be some sort of technology that, the stealth bomber has with a UFO. And if so, what exactly, does this UFO have? What kind of weaponized system does it have that keeps it, that people want to keep it secret? You get what I'm saying here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what are you thinking about that? Do you think that it has some sort of weaponized system, or do you think it's a product
I'm sure it has some crazy weaponry. I think the reason they say you're asking why they kept it a secret, why they want to keep it a secret?
Yeah, do you think they have some sort of weaponized system that's attached to it that is advanced, or do you think it's like a product in the works? Like it's like they have the aircraft, but they don't have like a weapon system for it. Like, what are you thinking there?
I think they probably have alien technology wise, they probably have the weapon system. They probably have. I don't think that humans here are even close to understand. Even the scientists they have working on it understand how the technology works, like the engine technology or the weapon systems or any of that. They claimed the reason that they were keeping it from us when they came out with it in 2017 was because they didn't want to frighten people. but that's just an excuse. I don't know. I don't know. It'd be hard to like. I don't know how much they've figured out as far as the alien technology and how much they haven't. But I'm sure aliens have the, you know, alien spacecraft, UFOs, and such have the technology to disintegrate. You know, anything. You know what I mean? Like there's pictures out there that shows different types of UFOs possibly even getting fuel directly from the sun, like crazy stuff. Like the fact that they have technology that you can even get that close to the sun without melting is wild. Um, so I don't know how much they have figured out about the weapon systems or and what they don't have figured out. I really don't know. I think that another fascinating person kind of in the area of extraterrestrial kind of research and stuff is David Adair. I think I mentioned him on one of the podcasts we did.
You did, yeah, I remember that.
He's something that's interesting. I don't what I'm always shocked by is why he's not like brought up in the same like Bob Lazar was the one that got all the publicity, but David Adair like has like everything about him is actually proven. Like he's actually like whereas like Bob Lazar it's like well it's not proven it's not disproven. David Adair has a record of the Navy hiring him at like 15 years old. he has like he has some of his writings on alien technology in the Library of Congress. Like the dude has like a record of everything, and so it's just interesting. I think those are probably my top two though as far as who to look to when it comes to this stuff. But even they like he said you listen to David Adair talk about it. He said couldn't understand the weapon system they had on it. He said they had a weapon system, but he more understood the engine, which is why they got him. But I think we're probably still a long ways off figuring out how the technology works. Just because we like, how do you reverse engineer something that uses an element that's maybe not even found on Earth? That uses, you know what I mean? Like maybe multiple elements, maybe stuff that's not even part of our periodic table. That's from another galaxy or even from this galaxy, but like light years away. Like how are you as a scientist? Like how are you supposed to even begin to figure that out? So I'd almost think to figure it out, you'd have to have some way of communicating with. Either you'd have to have like a mega genius here, or you'd have to have a way of communicating with an alien. Which that's an interesting question too. Do you think we've ever caught an alien live and not killed it?
So, there's a couple things I want to answer there. But your last question, do I think that we've caught an alien alive? I don't think we've caught one alive like here on Earth. I definitely think we have talked and seen aliens when we went to outer space, particularly the moon. My theory on the moon is I think, first of all, it's an artificial spaceship. That's my opinion. It would make sense. Like we went over a couple different things last alien podcast, right? And one of those things was that there was a 12-mile bridge that was there, and then it slowly started to sink into the moon, and now it's not there. So I think that there's something funny with the moon. I don't think it's. I mean, maybe the moon is a real thing, but maybe there's some sort of hole or some sort of like abyss that's on the backside of the moon that leads into like a hollow center, and that is the alien colony. I don't know. I think that's kind of more along the lines of something that would be true, but I want to kind of veer back here. So first of all, Christian said that he put something very beautifully that I actually didn't think about until he had said it. So I want to kind of bring that point up. He said, think about this. Anything that's declassified, the government at one point thought it was so important that it was hidden from the public. And that, like, just that alone, that is interesting to think about, because now that we see all the declassified stuff, now we can kind of get a mindset on, well, why is this classified? And, at what period was this classified? And why would this be classified? And why was it so secretive to keep this particular thing, a secret? And I have a a little article here that I wanna share first of all. But before I do, I wanna go ahead and say that 100%, I confirmed it and everything. 100%, the Pentagon, this 2020, released a statement and 3 videos that said yes, not aliens, UFOs exist, and they have released 3 videos of said thing, of said aliens, and when they released it, they by releasing that and by admitting that it's real, they just confirmed that what Lazar is saying is true.
100%.
And I have this here, and I want to go ahead and read off. It says, the CIA has declassified a massive, long-awaited trove of documents related to UFO sightings over the last 70 years. Striking excitement among those who want to believe in aliens and frustration among those who want to find actual proof to go along with it. Now, the truth is perhaps that out there is a zip file, which is .zip file, whatever. Though it might take some dedicated digging to find it. The documents deal primarily with UFOs, in which definition to remain, a mystery. The Black Vault, a UFO enthusiast site, and clearinghouse for related government files, recently published approximately 2,700 pages of declassified documents provided by the CIA, and the new disclosure amounts of the 2,700 pages of scanned documents involving unidentified aerial phenomena, which is UAP, for those of you who don't know. Which in the U.S. terms for UFO. Now, the CIA told the Black Vault that the disclosure includes its entire collection of the UAP documents through, though there is no way to know for sure.
Yeah.
And site founder John Greenwald Jr. spent decades trying to get his hands on the documents through the Freedom of Information Act, which is the FOIA laws. He finally succeeded last year, and the CIA dumped the files into a CD-ROM, so Greenwald uploaded everything to a site on January 7th. The full archive is available for download through the Black Vault site. It consists of 713 PDF files with subsequent numbered of titles. Specific cases are impossible to find without opening each document, and some documents are decades old. Scans are hard to read. Nevertheless, the Black Vault has done its best to make the documents searchable. Many of these documents are poorly photocopied, so the computer can only, quote-unquote, see so much. To converted searching, Greenwald writes on his website, he also suggested that the CIA had deliberately made the documents hard to parse, perhaps to slow people down. Greenwald and other eager ET hunters which is extraterrestrial, have already started combing through the documents and posting their suspicions online. The Pentagon declassified the videos, which we had talked about just now, and releasing them to the public last year, citing the need for pilots to feel comfortable reporting such phenomena. And then it goes on by saying the disclosure stoked new excitement about the possibility that alien life might have visited Earth, though remains are not like definitive proof. And then it goes on to say that speculation flared up again last year after Israel's former head of space security claimed that there was a galactic federation. So I want to just stop there for a second. Galactic Federation. That's interesting. Just like Space Force is interesting. But we're gonna come back to that. And then it says of aliens who didn't want humans to be in their club, whatever that means. He also claimed that the heads of the U.S. and Israel were in touch with the aliens, and that the extraterrestrials had helped set up human bases on Mars. I don't know if I believe that per se, but that's what is claimed. And then it goes on by saying Congress demanded last December that the Pentagon release some classified UAP related documents within 180 days as a part of the bizarre add on to the United States' latest COVID relief 19 bill. So I just want to, first of all, I just want to stop right there. I know I just kind of slid COVID 19 in there. So, first of all, here's some food for thought, and I definitely want your opinion on this, Eli, for sure. All that aside, right, the Black Vault, that's whatever. The fact why, that's the question here that we need to answer, is the last little bit of that. Why did Congress demand last December that the Pentagon release the UAP-related documents within 180 days as an add-on to the COVID relief bill? Does it have, does, I know it's going to sound wild, and I know, here's a tinfoil hat me coming out. Does COVID-19 have something to do with aliens? Because why would they want those documents released? Why? What purpose does that serve?
So
That's my thing.
I think, bro, like, I don't know. So you can agree or disagree, but in my opinion, because I was reading about that just the other day, about the COVID-19 relief bill having how they demanded that they wanted to have some of the classified UAP related documents within 180 days. I think, bro, like they know how close people are paying attention to everything like that Congress does, especially when it comes to like these COVID bills and stuff. They have people have like these websites that do research have lawyers reading over every page that Congress releases and such and such. That being the case, why wouldn't the CIA just release all this information, even if it's real information? Like, we could argue or not about whether it's even real or fake what they're releasing, whether they just made up everything, scanned a bunch of documents that looked old, new, in between, and just released. I mean, they have enough of it. They have thousands and thousands of people working for them, so how hard would that be? But I'm not even arguing that. Let's assume that what they released the first time, the 700 and some pages of PDF, or 713 PDF files, which who knows how long each of those PDF files is, but that being the, like, what do you think about it? So 713 PDF files. Let's just assume that they're all real. They didn't make up any, which is a big assumption, but let's assume that. Now, assuming they're real, what else? Like, there's no way. In my opinion, that there's no way that that's all. But the only reason they would release something at this point, or that Congress would put that in the bill, or that any of this would go down, is so that people focus on that and it takes your attention off other stuff. Or they're just releasing just enough to keep people happy to where they don't have to release the real stuff that talks about, maybe stuff that would scare people, maybe stuff that would open people's eyes. Another interesting thing, kind of to tie the two together on a little side note, it's kind of interesting, like right at the beginning of the episode we were talking about Illuminati, and something very closely related to the Illuminati. People even think that this particular organization could be a branch of the Illuminati. I'm sure you've heard of them, is the Skull and Bones Society, of which George W. and George H.W. Bush were a part of, and high-ranking members.
Absolutely, yeah, we talked about that at one point.
Yeah, so what's interesting how they tie together is that the biggest role that that most people think that are into conspiracy and that actually look into stuff and have open eyes and have open minds, the number one role of Skull and Bones Society was to micromanage the CIA. So if CIA is releasing these documents, how does, like, you know what I mean? It's almost ties back together into one huge kind of overwhelming thing of like they want you to, they're only going to release what they want you to see.
and there's a reason for that they're releasing what they didn't just give up and say, well, I guess we have to because Congress asked. The CIA is so much more powerful than Congress. The Illuminati and all those and organizations are more powerful than Congress. Congress is, in my opinion, just kind of a front to our government type thing. Um, I don't know, and that sounds really like obviously people can think I'm crazy. I just think that the only reason they'd release stuff, even if it's true, like assuming it's true, which I think is even maybe not even true, but even if all the stuff they release is actual documentation of UAP stuff, then what else are they holding back on? Whether it's about weapon technology, engine technology, whether it's about aliens they've caught or talked to or killed or ships they've shot down. Like, what are they? They're holding back all sorts of stuff. They're only letting you see what they want you to see. They did. It's not like they all of a sudden decided, oh, we better like we're good people, like we're gonna do the right thing and release documents. So blah 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 blah. No, they're releasing what they're either okay with you seeing, or even what they want you to see. So you're so distracted by it that you forget about all the other stuff that they have that you can't see. And how are we supposed to verify whether that's true or not? You know what I mean? Like there's no
Yeah.
unless you had an insider in the CIA, like super high up in the CIA. Um, but anyways, yeah, that's kind of my 2 cents on the whole thing.
So, I want to. First of all, I agree with a lot of the stuff that you said, and I think really the point I want to hit here is the fact that it's in the COVID bill is pretty insane.
Pretty sketchy.
It is. It's because when you comb through the COVID bill, first of all, it's pages and pages and pages of what to us is like gibberish, just like a contract or a I mean, hell, of all people, you're a car guy. I mean, the sheer amount of paperwork is a lot of it's really kind of just gibberish. I mean, it's for really. I mean, it's for like those people who want those $10 words to understand. I mean, let's keep it 100 with everybody. Let's just kind of pull back the mirror here. So I want to keep reading on this thing here because it's a couple really interesting. Couple interesting paragraphs here. So here we go. Following off from where it was, it's the Pentagon, due to a brief Congress on the matter in the coming months. As of this writing, the CIA was not committed to releasing or even commenting on the Black Vault release, the UFOs, or even the unidentified flying objects and extraterrestrials are, favorites basically are of the whole science fiction type of thing. But the date there has been not confirmed, and the encounters on Earth. Still, strange sights in the night sky have been attributed to UFOs or aliens over the decades, most famously in Roswell. I know we had talked about Roswell briefly in New Mexico, first of all, and for those of you who don't know, the Roswell Crash was said to be the first contact with aliens. A UFO crashed, and that was the first time we were able to get an alien aircraft in an actual body of an alien. Now I don't know if that's necessarily true, but that's the theory, right? And then it goes back to back here in this paragraph where it says, where many believers claim an alien craft crashed on a farm in 1947, which is what I just said, and in 2017 the existence of the U.S. government program that tracked UFO, quote-unquote UFO sightings by military pilots, which shut down in 2012, by the way, was brought to light new in the New York Times. So it was brought out like it was a new thing, and it was, whatever. And when the New York Times reporter said basically, right, that these, are more than just allegations. And then under it, says the report must contain a detailed analysis of the UFO data and the intelligence collected by the Office of Naval Intelligence, the Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, and the FBI, according to the Senate Intelligence Committee directive. It should also describe in detail an agency process, for ensuring timely data collection. Now, again, all that's really just kind of gibberish, but this Black Vault stuff. I want to talk about this 2,700 pages. First of all, what do you think about it? Do you think it's real? Do you think that it's just kind of they purposely put these poorly photoshopped or photocopied stuff out there? Or do you think it was, what are you thinking? Let me in on your mindset.
I think, it could be two different as far as the Black Vault stuff goes. It could be two different things, right? Like, one could be they purposely made it like poor copies, so it took people longer to get through. But I don't think they're worried about people getting through it. Like, I don't think they would have released anything they didn't want to. So I think that maybe even it's real research, but maybe it's unimportant research, right? You know what I mean? Like, let's just take something totally different, for example. There's been tons of people that have studied cows. I could release a bunch of the research they've done is useless. It was trial and error or whatever. Same with UFO stuff, right? Like, or UPA stuff. Like, to me, like, you could have a bunch of research you released that was just useless research, if you know what I mean. Like, research that didn't turn up much, or if any, like fruitful results from the research. But they're not gonna release their actual like research that actually found important things. I don't think. I mean, that's just my opinion. With how much research they've probably done, 700 files, 713 or whatever it was, files, doesn't seem like even 1% of all the research they've probably done. Considering that it's already come out and it had been proven that they have an entire department of the military and an entire department of researchers that have been for over a decade dedicated to research on extraterrestrial stuff. That being the case, you don't have hundreds, if not thousands, of people working on that for over a decade and only have 713 documents. Or 713 PDFs. Like, there's no way. You'd have thousands, tens of thousands. So that's my thoughts on that part of it. The other thing, kind of jump back to what you said about the COVID-19. How they pushed it through with the COVID-19. Really interesting thought. And this kind of just something I was thinking. What if COVID-19 was just, like, with all the chaos and everything involved, was just a way to prepare us for a first contact with aliens, like humans on Earth, like first contact, like just getting used to chaos and being in our homes and being socially distanced and all that was a way to prepare us for, maybe a planned first contact. Who knows? Maybe not. Why else? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of reasons they would have released it with the COVID-19 bill.
Hold on, I want to stop you right there for a second. I want to thank the 127 people watching. You guys are fantastic.
Let's go.
Dude, you seen it?
That's wild.
Boom, snap me a picture of that. Anyway, let's go, bro. No, but so here's the thing. I agree with you. I think that there's some foul play going on here. I think that honestly, having this idea, right, that it's hard to put it in words because it's almost like I want to accuse somebody of something, and it's almost like maybe they're trying to release this a little bit at a time, but I have a couple stories here that I don't necessarily know if that's really the truth. I have an article here that says in 1988 there were 3,000 reports of UFO sightings in Witherville, Virginia. I'm sure I mispronounced that. I'm sorry. In October 18, no. I'm sorry about that. In October 1987, there we go. County Sheriff Wayne Pike reported that he and his deputies witnessed strange lights in the sky that sparked a full panic in Virginia, prompting many conspiracy theorists. By 1988, there were 3,000 reports of UFO sightings in the area. All of a sudden, everybody started seeing things, quote unquote, seeing things. A reporter told Bristol Herald Courier that the same reporter said that he had saw something strange in the sky one night, which he described as just oscillating light. Now, whatever. And then it goes on to say, quickly, the story picked up national attention, but there has never been an official explanation for the sightings. Some theorize that the entire town were just experiencing mass hysteria. So, I don't know how true that is, if a whole town can experience mass hysteria over something. I mean, I guess it's true, I guess it could be true, right? I mean, realistically speaking, I guess it could be true, but I don't see that being the case. I mean, what are you thinking?
Thinking about which part of what you just said.
About
you're talking about
the mass hysteria, about everyone saying they saw lights in the sky, and people just attributing it to, oh well, it's just mass hysteria.
mass hysteria. What caused the mass hysteria? Mass hysteria doesn't come out of nowhere. So I don't know. I don't buy that. I don't think it's mass hysteria. I think that if it was, then it was caused by something, whether it was the lights in the sky or whether. But did they try to put it point? Did they just say mass hysteria, or did they?
Yeah,
say
just mass hysteria. That's what they chalked it up to, was mass hysteria.
It's bullshit. Yeah, there's no way it was just mass hysteria. All of a sudden, a bunch of people just went crazy. No, I don't think so. I don't know.
You think it's bullshit?
100%. I don't think there's any way you can chalk that up to just mass hysteria. I mean, that doesn't even sound like they tried hard to come up with a good excuse. They could have come up with something better than that. At least a logical reason. A bunch of people don't just go crazy all at the same time for no reason.
I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't buy it. I think I don't know.
I get it. First of all, 138. You guys are fantastic. I love every one of you. Okay, I'm sorry. I like having the number. Anyway, it's interesting stuff, man. It's interesting stuff. A lot of people want to hear about it.
Oh yeah. I think have you ever so I was reading recently, it was I don't know, a week ago. I was reading something about have you ever heard about the secret squirrel? And obviously everybody's heard of Area 51. Basically there's this theory out there, and this is kind of totally off what we've been talking about, but it's interesting. And it talks about how there is the government has 2.3 million. The theory goes that the government has 2.3 million acres of unknown land. The United States actually isn't the exact shape we think it is. It's similar, but that there's a whole section of land the size of Delaware that's not anywhere on the map as far as the United States. It's not shown from satellite images. It's edited out of every satellite image. But that there's 2.3 million acres connected to Area 51 that nobody can get to, and nobody can prove is there because there's never been any pictures taken on it. Never been any and there would be no way to prove it. Technically, you could get away with it because, and
it explains where they store all the stuff they find for alien technology or any other secrets they want to keep. 2.3 million acres. If you could, I guess I thought it was ridiculous when I first read it, but then I got to kind of dug deeper, and I'm like, there's like it could be hidden super easy to edit it out of satellite photos, super easy to block off any entry to it. And how would you prove that it wasn't just like I don't know? I just, what do you think of that? Kind of interesting, just on the fact because I always thought like Area 51. I don't think there's anything actually stored at Area 51 where Area 51 is. I think Area 51 is like a front, or like here's where we store the stuff. Because they don't even have that much military there. They have a dozen, 2 dozen people there guarding it. If it was that important, they would have more than that, way more than that. So that's interesting. But like, there's no way with 2.3 million acres, with all the research they've done, that's been proven that New York Times proved they've been doing for over a decade. 713 files. You think that's it? Thousands of researchers over a decade of time. You think they've only come up with 713 pages worth of research? Yeah, definitely not. I know one researcher. I have a buddy that's actually a researcher. It has nothing to do with like aliens or anything, but he does research. He's a researcher for a university, and he probably in 1 year comes up with more than 713 PDF documents worth of research by himself. So like, plus like, what would be the point of the Congress asking for more information if they've already released all what they said was all the information? So obviously it wasn't all the information because Congress is still saying we want more. So it's kind of like a contradiction in and of itself, like the COVID bill, having them like an order for them to declassify all the stuff when they already said they had declassified everything. You know what I mean? It's a contradiction. It's interesting to me. What do you think, though?
I mean, I think personally speaking, I think that there is so much information out there already. And I read a quote the other day saying that the truth is out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think that quote really kind of sums up everything, right? It sums up the fact that, the truth is out there and it's up to people to, sort of figure it out. And I always say all the time, right? Every time I did a magic show or something, that, the best sort of, what's the word here? The best thing that I could use is misdirection, and I think that a lot of what they do is misdirection. So.
Oh, dude, that's a perfect word too. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. You're good. I think a lot of this is misdirection. And maybe I'm totally batshit crazy about it, but I just. First of all, we have 194 watching. It's fantastic.
Wow.
Thank
you so much, guys. Hope you guys are enjoying this.
Right, yeah. No, but so it's hard to explain, right? It's something that's challenging for me because I want to believe that this idea of the government telling the truth is real, but I know that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and a lot of misdirection when it comes to the government. And I think putting it in the COVID bill, I think is a sort of misdirection. Now, I could be totally wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I could be totally wrong, and maybe this is a way to kind of put it out there, or kind of like something that's hidden in plain sight. Like if you let's face it, most people are not reading through the COVID-19 bill. I mean, let's just be honest, most people are not reading through it. They're just like, free money, yay. But like it's if you look, the proof is there. Just like if you look for like Bob Lazar's story, the truth is there. Everything
and even
is,
like what you said about like, yeah, even what you said about like misdirection, like it's been a thing for literally
decades. Like it happens in everyday cases that have nothing to do with like aliens too, with misdirection, right? Like let me give you an example. There's been multiple, literally hundreds of court cases where the court ordered one corporation to turn over its files to the other corporation that was suing them, um, and or basically or to the other lawyers to the other side during like a deposition or something. They'll say, well, you have to turn over these files for them to look over so they can prove whether they're telling the truth or false about this. And it's happened hundreds, if not thousands, of times in court cases, especially when it comes to like corporate stuff. Like you have to turn over these files so we can look over them. And instead of just turning over the pertinent files, because instead of just turning over the 10 pages that they know they want, they'll send them. And I'm not kidding you. There was one case where they sent over 3,000 boxes, like those old file folder boxes, those brown ones that can carry like
Yeah.
40 pounds of paper, 50 pounds of paper. They sent them 3,000 boxes of files. Basically, the whole idea of it was like, well, we did what you said. Technically, they did what the court ordered, but the other company was like, how are we going to search through? Like, it's going to take us 10 months with a 100-man team to search through all these files, and they just didn't have the money to. So that part of the case, they just gave up on ever finding like the paperwork, because they're like, technically they followed the court law or the court order, but like there was no way they were going to find the needle in the haystack. I think that could be the case with. I think as time goes on, that will become the case with the CIA. Because like right now, 713 is not that many, but I think eventually they'll just dump so much that it's like trying to look for a needle in the haystack, and that's why I just don't try. I would never trust getting my information that way. Like I get my information from what I think are like reliable and like trustworthy leaks that come from like WikiLeaks or that come from other whistleblowers and stuff. That's where I get my info. I will never get it from like the 713 PDF documents released or the stuff that they'll release from this court order with the COVID-19 bill. Just because I think it's not a reliable or a trustworthy source it's coming from. Even though it's coming directly from the CIA, I think they would never release stuff that they actually want you to see, like that they don't want you to see. That being the case, like what's the point of looking through all the stuff that they're releasing? Because they're obviously comfortable enough to release it to let you see it. And so what is really to be found there? Maybe a couple little nuggets, but nothing. I don't think you're going to find anything groundbreaking in that stuff. That's just my personal opinion. And misdirection was a great word for it, but it happens every day, all the time in court cases.
Right.
It's literally a strategy to bury the other side in so much papers, stuff to look through, that it's impossible to find what you're actually looking for. So I think you just have to be people like out there that are looking through, no matter what kind of conspiracy theory you're looking through, whether it's aliens or whether it's looking at Bob Lazar. Like, be careful of your sources. Listen to people you can trust. I hope you guys can trust us over time too. And I feel like me and Cody do a good job of showing you both sides. Like we try not to be too biased. We try to tell you like whether we think it's like a fact. Like I've heard us both say before on this podcast, like this is 100% like this could not be false. And then you'll also hear us sometimes say multiple times throughout an episode, hey, this is our personal opinion. We're always going to try to be straightforward. We're not going to try to make you believe something's fact if it's our opinion. And if it is fact, we're going to let you know, look, this has been proven. And this is why you can rely on it. So hopefully you guys can find out, use us, and you can use other people out there like us and find reliable sources of information. There's so much information. It's not about reading information anymore. It's about reading the right information, because there's so much disinformation out there. That sometimes it's hard to know what's right and wrong. So
there's a couple different things there that I want to hit on. You're right. I try not to be biased. I try to bring, the best possible, the best possible content, but not just the content. I try to be this person who sees both sides of the coin, which I'm about to go into right now with Robert Lazar here. So I have his background, and I have his his, I guess, crimes, you could say, criminal history. Now, again, I don't know if it's true or don't know if it's not true, but this is the public information that's out there. So here we go. I'm gonna read it off. In 1990, Lazar was arrested for aiding and abetting a prostitution ring. This was reduced to a felony pondering, to which he pled guilty. He was ordered to 150 hours of community service, stay away from brothels, and undergo psychotherapy. In 2006, Lazar and his family, Joe White, were charged with violating the Federal Hazardous Substances Act for shipping restricted chemicals across state lines. The charges stemmed, my bad, I read that wrong, stemmed from, let's see, what is it, 2000, there we go, it's just loaded up, 2003 raid on the United Nuclear Business Offices, there we go. Wanted to make sure that was correct for you guys. Where chemical sales records were examined, United Nuclear pled guilty to 3 criminal counts of introducing interstate commerce, and then aiding and abetting the introduction into the interstate. Now, basically what this means is they brought in hazardous substances that was banned. It's essentially that, right? Like things like mercury, that used to be in old school thermometers, is a banned substance, right? You can get fined for it. And this fine that the United Nuclear was fined was $7,500. So that's gonna be, that's right there is gonna be the criminal history. Now, the first part of that, the prostitution ring, I want to believe that's not true, but I can't sit here and tell you definitively that it's not.
But it wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the first time that somebody's been accused of a crime they didn't commit just to discredit the information.
Which I think is what happened here. I think that it's used to discredit, and that's really kind of the point. The point that I want to drive home here is maybe that they use this to discredit him, just like how they tried to wipe his birth certificate. They tried to wipe all this different stuff and yada yada yada. But I don't know. I just really think that the whole thing in general is just kind of, I think it's sort of sad sort of way to discredit somebody, and I just kind of want to leave that there. There's one more story I want to talk about here, first of all, and it kind of borders on a couple different things. It borders on Illuminati, but it also ties in a little bit about the monument and what, like, the secret rooms and stuff. So first of all, Stanley R Mickelson. The Safeguard Complex in North Dakota was built in the 1970s to detect incoming missiles. The $500 million building is shaped like an unfinished pyramid, much like the one you can see on the back of a dollar, and has a round circle on the face. There you go. Mysteries about the building opened after it opened up for one day for operation. It opened on October 1st, 1975, closed October 2nd, 1975, when Congress decided to end the program, leading many to construct conspiracy theories. Some assume that the building is actually used by the Illuminati because of its pyramid shape, which is the symbol of the Freemasonry and the teachings of the largest secret society. So, right there, first of all, we have about 5 or 6 minutes before I end it. What do you think about that?
Oh, I mean, I definitely think it's a possibility. I think it actually interesting um, when you look into like location conspiracies, like where they meet, um, like where like the Illuminati meets, where Freemasons meet, like some of the big meeting spots. Have you ever? And I'm not super familiar with the one you're talking about, just to be straight up. But there is the Denver airport. I think it's in Denver, it's Portland.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, same idea, right? Like there's like in that airport there's like the all-seeing eye. There's like Illuminati like signs. Even the carpet had an Illuminati pattern for like 2 decades straight. There's Freemasonry signs throughout the whole thing. Somebody went in and they counted over 100 different signs, and like symbols of Freemasonry and Illuminati in one airport. And the theory is, and it's not just a theory, it's actually a lot of it's been proven where they went in and they saw the underground schematics for it. You can look at the blueprints for the people that did the contracting to build the airport, and there's like 6 floors underneath of the airport, and like a gigantic meeting room, and the airport denies that it's even there. So, but I just thought that's interesting. I had never looked into the particular one you're talking about, but I think it's highly possible, right? I'm sure they have a half dozen or a dozen meeting spots around the country that, in an end of the world scenario, are going to be able to hold up, right? We've already talked about how pyramids are the strongest, one of the strongest structures you can get as well, which would make sense in like end of the world, like being able to take hits from a bomb or aliens or whatever may be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I definitely think it's highly possible, and it would make sense why they had it in a pyramid shape.
So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap the podcast up here. I'm gonna go over a couple things and our closing thoughts. First of all, I want to thank the at our peak we had 195. At our peak, absolute peak. That is crazy. But I want to thank all of you guys first of all for coming out, showing you love. I appreciate it. Use the creator code, okay? And go support the dungeon. It's great. We have a third sponsor called GamerSups. It's a confirmed sponsor, everybody. It's G Fuel's competitor. So fuck G Fuel. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, it depends on what check's bigger. But look, guys, here's the deal. All right. I do appreciate all of you guys coming out and showing love. We want to continue to bring the best stories possible for you guys, and we know you love, the stuff we've been talking about. I recently turned on likes and comments on the YouTube channel. You guys loved that, so there you go. A little birdie told me to turn it on, so I did.
And it kind of helps us too, because we can like without seeing your comments on. I like no comments on the live stream, because it lets us just give us It lets us give you our unfiltered opinions and kind of go be efficient and give you as much information as quickly as possible and go over all the stuff we have for you. And the YouTube is kind of somewhere you can go and re-listen or listen to other stuff maybe you missed the live stream. And it's also where you can give your feedback, because we do want to hear what you guys want to hear about. So like, jump in the comments, hit it with a like, and check out the YouTube, because I'm sure there's episodes you guys haven't seen live that you could check out there. But yeah.
And so we had talked about the upload briefly. I'm going to bring up a couple things. We had talked about the upload schedule. We took it to every 2 weeks, and here's the thing. If we hit a certain goal per video, and if we hit a certain goal on the channel, we can unlock features first for you guys, right? And one of those features is more videos per week. So we can go ahead and do that. So here's the deal. We get to 5,000 subscribers. We will do a video every single week. Every single week, 5,000 subscribers. Absolutely. And first of all, I want to say you're completely monetized on YouTube. Everything came back, checked out perfectly. We have a pretty healthy CPM. Everything's all good to go. So I'm couldn't be more stoked. I don't know if I told you like that or not, but yeah, I it might be the first time hearing it. We are 100% monetized across the platform for sure. So, click on those ads, watch those ads. It helps us out. We're going to continue to, bring you guys badass content. The next video we're going to do, I haven't really discussed it, but I'm kind of just making a call here. The next one we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to stick with the conspiracy theme, obviously, but we're going to do like animals, kind of. We're going to talk kind of like Bigfoot, different, it's animals that...
Megalodon.
It's animals that could exist, that definitely have been covered up, and there's a couple different ones that I want to talk about. Obviously, we talked about Loch Ness being one of them. I have a story here, first of all, just to give you guys a little tease. I'm not going to give you the whole shabam here, but just to give you a little tiny thing. There have been countless sightings of Loch Ness Monster in Flathead Lake, Montana. I'm going to leave that there for you. And then we have a couple Bigfoot stories for you. I know he just talked about Megalodon. So we're going to be talking about... It's kind of like Megalodon. It's a cannibal shark. I know we had mentioned it on the Water podcast. We didn't get to upload that, unfortunately. However, we're going to kind of go over here. There is a couple water things, I guess, that we're gonna go over. And then, first of all, there's a wonderful documentary series called Lost Tapes. Now, reason I'm saying it is so you guys can kind of watch it, and even Eli too. You guys can all watch it and kind of prepare yourself for what I'm going to talk about. It's what it's about is first of all, I want to be very clear with everybody. The tapes aren't real. It is not. I'm just being real. The tapes aren't real. Now, the tapes are a what's the word? I don't know. It's basically like a choreographed version of the tape that's found, I guess you could say. There is the lost tapes of it is that the tapes that were recovered of said event were redone for somatic purposes and then put in this document series. So every creature that you see in here, right, like the Jersey Devil, there's the Dover Demon, right, which is the alien, and there's tons of others. Those are just a few of them, but there's tons of others that we're gonna be talking about that were actually filmed. And regardless of how real the film is irrelevant. But this series, right, is around the idea of those things existing and around the tapes that were found. So that's interesting. We're gonna be talking a lot about Bigfoot because Kevin brought this up the other day. It was in Oklahoma. They are opening up a Bigfoot hunting season. This is true, 100% true. They're gonna issue license.
That's wild.
Right? Yeah. And they're gonna issue an official hunting license for it, official hunting gear for it, and yeah.
We're getting too much into it, though. We gotta save something for.
I know. It's so good. But no, for real. The next one's gonna be about myth creatures that could be true. That there's actual proof definitive proof, right, that they exist, and could have been covered up or could have been kind of misconstrued as being covered up. So that's where we're gonna land there. Any closing thoughts before we set this off?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, well, you guys take care. I love all of you, and
Guys, be
remember,
good.
peace out, Girl Scout.